Let me ask you a question, man. Mm-hmm. Would you rather live in Hawkins or Gotham?
Is suicide an option? I mean, at least in Gotham, you're dealing with more grounded, for the most part, things based in reality. All the supernatural shit, man, it's like, I feel like you have much less control.
I was about to say, what can you do in Hawkins?
Especially if portals opening and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
you just gotta move. Like, I ain't got time. You in your kitchen and shit, you see a big open hole and, like, dog, no, I'm out.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Cynicism. I'm Eric.
It's your boy Dante, man, and today we're going to be doing a review on Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1.
That's what they've been doing lately.
Yeah.
So this season takes place about a year after the last season. Of course, if you've been keeping up with the series, you know, in an effort to, close the portal to the Upside Down for good, Hopper got seemingly killed in the process. Will's mom and their family have moved away to a new town. Eleven's living with them as well. Eleven and Mike, they still together. Of course, their relationship is a bit strained with the distance, and unfortunately, 11 is having trouble fitting in this new town. She feels like a bit of an outcast, and she's kind of bullied too. Actually, severely bullied.
Yeah, right.
It's that movie bullying too. Like,
we're gonna talk about that.
And then you got everybody else who's kind of growing up. They've entering the high school years, so their friendships are becoming a bit more strained as well. You got Lucas, who's on the basketball team now, so he's not participating in like the friend activities and games as much as he used to because he's trying to fit in with the cool crowd. And on top of all that, you've got new murders happening. Yet another portal to the Upside Down open somewhere, and it's dug up some events from the past that we come to find out are actually in a way linked to 11 and her past as well.
Now in Hawkins, the general threat this season is that we have like an entity that's targeting people that have been through some type of trauma in their life. I mean, the way that their body get contorted is insane. The way that they die is crazy, but it's almost like they went kind of like a Freddy Krueger route. Like he kind of attacks you in your dreams and
that's
your
what
fantasies.
I thought immediately. And then when I saw, oh boy, from the Freddy Krueger movies in here, I was like, well, clearly this was the inspiration for this season.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things about this season is kind of just, this is probably the most adult that it felt, like in terms of the kids. Like, we've seen these kids grow up in front of our eyes. It's crazy.
It is crazy when they do them flashbacks.
Yes. It feels appropriate, you know what I'm saying? Because they are older, and of course in context of the show they are as well. So it's good to see them going through more, I would say more teenage to adulthood type scenarios. There is a strain on a lot of their relationships. They are kind of somewhat growing apart, but trying to stay together. And I appreciated that, and I like the fact that Max is going through real stuff. It's like a lot of trauma and things like that, especially when there are children involved in a show like this. It's very easy to kind of gloss over the fact that people aren't affected by things that happened previously. I appreciated the fact that we got to see that Max is very much impacted by what happened to her brother Billy in the previous season. Let's talk about 11. Her and Mike's relationship is interesting on the show because I do like them together, but something feels a bit off, and I guess this season they kind of focused on that. But I will say the whole thing with her getting upset with him felt real contrived, like about him not putting love in the letters or whatever. I know that this show's got to have conflict and these characters got to have conflicts, but sometimes the way they write this, it feels very much plot driven. I thought it was interesting that she lied to him too. I thought he brought up a real valid point about the whole thing with him being an outcast. It's like, of course he would understand if she was being bullied, and
you probably didn't want him feeling like sorry for her, or how I took it or interpreted it was more so to protect like his feelings, probably.
Now that you mention it, what I think about is that, he's also very used to her being a strong character too. Like she got powers and stuff like that. She probably also in her mind maybe didn't want him to think less of her because, she's always the one saving everybody, protecting everybody. Yeah. And to have to tell him stories about how she getting pushed around and beat up on, it probably would look, she probably would think he might look away, which of course he wouldn't, but I could understand that.
I'm trying to remember what led up to her being approached by that organization to like bring her back in to like experiment or try to help her to regain her powers.
So that's linked directly to that whole attack with her at the skating rink.
Well, she's bullied relentlessly by this one particular girl. I can't remember her name, but wow, what a bitch.
What was her deal, bro? The way that they write these
bullies,
characters
man.
sometimes in these shows, it be so unmotivated. They'll just pick on that person because they're the main character of the. But it was really no reason for that girl to bother her. I guess maybe because she felt
Not
like she was.
that.
Yeah.
Like people mess with people in school, but it was completely unwarranted.
Yeah, it was obsessive. The thing that bothers me about when they write these characters, it's like the amount of people that's on board for some of this stuff. Like the fact that the little boys was pushing 11 and stuff like that, I thought that was crazy. And then at that skating rink, it's like the whole skating rink was in on it. Like, dude, what is y'all incentive to bother this little girl? And then when they get stolen, then everybody try to act like, oh my God, they're crazy.
That's actually what pisses me off. They do this every time. It's like they always write the same type of scenes where the person is clearly and obviously getting bullied to no end. And then as soon as they retaliate, they act like they just crazy.
She hit her with the skate. Everybody was like, oh my God.
I haven't seen a person more deserving
Yes.
of violence in a long time. I mean, obviously they wanted us to hate the character.
Yeah, right.
But why?
Yeah, right.
Why she had to be that hateable?
Yeah.
And once she gets approached by the organization that had granted her these abilities, that's when we get to see even more of her past. It was actually somehow a lot more traumatizing than what I even thought. Hopper.
Let's do it, man.
Honestly, I just wasn't expecting to see him again. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought they had planned on and intended on killing his character off in the last season, so it was kind of a surprise to me, especially the route that they took with his storyline. It was interesting. I don't know how I felt about it.
I kind of thought it would be more meaningful if he did die permanently. Like, I understood when they faked out that 11 had died and then they brought her back because she's such a key part of this show. I feel like Hopper is too in a way, but I don't know, man. It kind of felt like he had served his purpose, and then the fact that he had went out the way that he went out, I thought that made sense. I thought that was a fitting end for his character. When they bring him back like this, it just undercuts moments like those. It's just like, well, what the fuck? You know?
I agree, and it does cheapen the experience to me when they bring back characters like that. I don't know if they had planned to bring him back or they just wanted to bring him back just for like the audience. I don't know.
With the story that they took him in, it didn't feel like that was pre-planned.
Like an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, that's what he doing this whole season.
That mean the explosion was so blatant.
Yeah, no. And the fact that he was laying on the ground, that's not how explosions work. It's not like, oh, if you laying flat and the whole thing erupt, then you'll be protected. Like, what? No,
that's not how that works.
No, it's not. Unfortunately. Let's talk about Max, man. I thought that was so intriguing the way that they did her character, man. First of all, how she's tied into the overall story. Because if you think about before, it's been a lot of just kind of like faceless, personality lacking monsters. This show needs a real antagonist, and I think
history.
Exactly. And I think now that we got one that's linked to, you know, a lot of the things that's going on in the past to some of the characters, that's a lot more intriguing than what we've been dealing with. Because I was kind of tired of the Upside Down in season 2, and then in season 3 when in return, I'm like, this shit again? Like, it just feel like the same thing over and over. Max is kind of really depressed this season, man. It's kind of sad to see because, you know, of course, everybody else is still kind of there, chip herself. Especially you can see when she interacts with Lucas, she kind of trying to avoid him. You know, of course, it can be very hard to talk to the people that you're closest to about the hurt that you're feeling and things like that. So she kind of done withdrawn and she walking around like with her headphones on, is just kind of losing herself in her pain.
And it's hard enough for adults to be able to talk about something like that or express, you know, their emotions in a healthy way. So I can only imagine what a child like would be going through trying to do the same.
I thought that element that they added where it was like one of the main characters was really at risk. We were really at risk
man,
of
I
losing.
thought she was about to be up out of here.
Me too.
Like for real.
I'm not even joking. Me too. I didn't know how to feel about that because I really like Max, so I didn't want her to die. But also in terms of the show, it would have made sense.
Yeah,
like the way that people was. Yeah, exactly.
That would have been hurtful to watch.
Yeah.
If she went out like everybody.
Oh my God. And that's a also the thing, to see a character that you really care about die in that gruesome way that people were getting killed in.
So, you know, we were introduced to several new characters this season. Amongst them were one of my favorite new characters, Eddie Munson. I'm so glad they didn't kill him off, because I was scared he might have gotten killed too. I loved his energy, man. The relationship he had with like the underclassmen. I thought he was just like a very cool, like big brother type that they needed like in that high school, because high school was rough, man. It was unfortunate how he kind of like got accused of murdering.
I could only imagine what was going through his, but like you can't even put that into words.
But
like how could
the way he ran about that?
Listen, man, that boy had wheels on. Dog, I'm gonna be real honest. People can do some gruesome things to one another, but the fact they thought that a human being could have done what happened to that young lady was crazy to me. Look at her. Like he would have had to been some type of like overly strong.
Like look at her eyes, bro.
Dog. I mean, it's no way that a person did this. She looked mangled by a monster.
Jaw broke, arms, legs broken. They gotta put it on somebody.
Yeah, right. But in this town, it's like y'all know the vibes here, man. Yeah. It's a lot of supernatural
shit. Somewhere else, then yes. Be more understandable.
Somewhere else, but it's Hawkins. This season's villain is Vecna. Even though the Upside Down is a place, it's almost like a being in itself. Like it's like trying to stay alive, and I think that's interesting because he's like a byproduct of that and his own personal agendas. The way that they tied him into 11, I thought that was really interesting. I didn't see that coming at all. It was weird because, you know, of course that guy, the whole time he was there in that little facility,
very creepy.
And I also was just like, yo, who is that? Like, I felt like they never introduced him. They never said who it was. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy that keeps helping her out? He seemed nice enough, but very weird. I'm intrigued to see where they're gonna go in the second part of this, because I definitely want to see like an ultimate showdown between him and 11, where they actually get to really duke it out with their powers and stuff like that.
We gonna have to talk about Will. Because what? Let's talk about Will. Yo, why they got Will out here like this, man? First of all, why they turn him into such a fucking dork, man?
The thing about Will is Will done probably caught the most raw deal of all the kids in the show, because he was taken in season 1 by the Upside Down, and in season 2 he was possessed by it. But you know, it's funny, I would have thought all of those experiences would have maybe made him stronger, but it's like he's a very weak character to me. You know, God bless him, he's a real sweet kid, but at this point it's just like, dude, I feel like he's not growing. That's part of the dilemma. Even when Mike get there, it's like, you know, he's still kind of on the same shit.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, man.
Is he gay?
What they trying to suggest here? Why he acting like that?
He might be. They need to, if they're gonna do it, they need to just say it. When he got there and his reaction to them as a couple, at first
it's like,
yeah, right.
He was sighing and shit and being all upset.
Yeah, they tried to justify it by saying that he was upset because their friendship was. But I agree with you. It felt like more.
I understand this is the '80s, different time. You know, obviously things weren't as accepted. Why they gotta make him look so weak?
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, he was very whiny, very
especially like you said, after like all of his experiences with the team, and I don't know, man, he just seemed like weird, just weirder than he was before. Given everything that Will been through, I feel like people just they don't really be like supporting him the way that I feel like that. I mean, I know they're young too. I don't know, man. Yeah. Will just had a raw deal. That's all I could say. I feel like he just keep on getting shit on.
Absolutely. Out of all the characters on this show, I'd be like, man, they never really gave him an arc, man. He just always been
like, he was gone
kid.
All of the first season.
Yeah.
And then they find him, which I don't even know why he was still alive.
Yeah.
But at any rate, they found him, which I was happy about. Then season 2, he throwing up slugs and shit and shadows.
I guess it could be part of it. Like maybe he, because of what he been through, he like got some type of arrested development, maybe. But yeah. I don't know, man. Don't feel like they focus on him enough. Dog, this show is very violent, bro. I was watching this show. I'm like, has this show always been this violent? It's not one of them shows where something will happen and the camera cut away. Mm-hmm. They gonna show you when people's body was getting broke the fuck.
This might have been one of the more violent seasons for sure. Like the first time it happened, I was like, oh wow, this is crazy.
And then when you realize
it kept happening.
That part. The moment where you realize that was just one of many.
Seen like 5 people die like that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a theme of this season where people
pop locking.
Pop Pop, lock, and drop it. You know, one of my favorite aspects of this show is the teen 80s kind of Goonie aspect. And I don't know, it felt like this season was the least that they've done that. But I do appreciate, because that whole crew, Steve, his homegirl, Nancy, Dustin, I love that aspect of the show, man, when they like kind of getting into hijinks, solving mysteries. It's like all of them together. And at first, it really felt like this was going to be a very separated season. Of course, Mike done went to Cali, and then, you know, 11 get took. It's like, damn, man, I know why they separate them, but I really love when they all together. I feel like that's the appeal to this show, and that's how it started. I did appreciate, at least on a small scale, that we got to see Steve and Dustin and Lucas and Max and all of them kind of be together. I like that element of the show, man. I feel like, if anything, I like the more in-depth stuff, but I really appreciate when they all together.
I agree. During the season, I was like, damn, I ain't see so-and-so interact with so-and-so yet this season. I understood why it was a natural progression of the plot, especially being that some people moved away from the town. And on top of that, you got people that are growing up, getting older. That's kind of just how friendships go.
Man, these kids have really grown up, man. I was about to say, they said that season 5 is going to be the last season, and I think that's necessary. I would have honestly took it if this season would have been the last season.
Otherwise, they'd be in fucking college.
That's right. That's what I'm like, these kids can't keep playing these characters. They've outgrown them. It's great to still see, but at this point, it's kind of like, all right.
Yeah, it's been a good run. Honestly, it lasted longer than what I even ever expected it to.
Absolutely. Especially given the fact they kept recycling plot. I was like, wow, you know, but it's this is one of them shows where it's like the characters. If you can't get into the characters, then you're probably not going to enjoy the show. It can be kind of repetitive in terms of like the actual themes, but it's just these people, man. They so fun to watch. I love when they all together and interacting. It's just, I love them, man. They enjoyable as hell.
Stranger Things season 4 definitely was helpful to have not only antagonists with a bit more personality, but also with direct link and connection to 11. I like that the kids have grown. They're kind of coming into their own. Like, I think that was cool because it's a very realistic take on kids at that particular time in their life. This is when you start to develop into the person you're going to be, like into young adulthood. Some of the character arcs or the directions were a bit questionable. Overall, I still enjoyed this first half of the season, so I'm going to give Stranger Things season 4 part 1 a 8 out of 10.
I was looking forward to this when it came back. It's been such a long time since we got the last season. I didn't even realize how long it's been, but I enjoyed this season, man. I think that they stepped it up in certain ways. It was other ways that I was a bit confused about. I mean, the show not perfect. And I think from a plot standpoint, it's always kind of struggled with recycling plots, but I appreciated this season how they made it make sense and created this new villain, and I think that gives the show a bit more incentive and a bit more intrigue. I love the characters, man. That's really what keeps me coming back to this show. Like, these kids are just, they so fun and so funny, and I feel like we know them, you know, at this point. You know everybody's personality. It's been really dope to watch these kids grow up and mature, and I like the fact that that's reflected in the show. Like, it's more mature themes, it's more mature, realistic takes on how their friendships and relationships are working. So I like that. For me, I'm gonna give this season 8 as well. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this season is gonna go.
Thanks for tuning into our review of Stranger Things season 4 part 1. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggested reviews you'd like to see us cover here, please drop a comment below.
Absolutely. And if you guys have seen season 4 of Stranger Things, please let us know what you thought, how you feel about the progression of the characters, how you feel about the overall plot. What do you think of the new villain? We like to know all of that.
Definitely.
We appreciate y'all, man.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
Peace.